Hi everyone, it's Robin here from the Dance Physio. I'm here today with my top pre-point and point training exercises. So you've been dancing for a while and you're looking forward to going on to point, or maybe you've started point already but you're looking to improve. So I've put together my top exercises to help dancers improve the strength and the control that they need to be safe and effective at point work. So if you want to dance on point, you need a huge amount of strength. You need strength in your core, your hips, your legs, your feet and ankle, everything really. And what separates those students, those that struggle and those that are successful at point work, is indeed strength. So I've put together today my favorite exercises to cover all of the elements that you need, all the strength and the control that you need to be successful at point work. Now, of course, there's loads of different exercises that you can do to help you prepare for point work, but these are some that I come back to time and time again with my students because they're safe and effective for pretty much everybody. Now, of course, a little disclaimer here. These exercises are not a substitute for going to class regularly. If you want to be going to point, you need to be going to class regularly. You need to be working with a qualified teacher. You need to be working on your technique. And of course, going on point work is a serious undertaking and should only ever be done under the supervision of a properly qualified teacher. Now, the first group of exercises we're going to look at is what we call intrinsics. So we've got two groups of muscles that work our feet. We've got what we call the extrinsic muscles that go from the back of your knee right down to the ends of your toes. Then we've got a group of little muscles that sit deep inside your feet. We call these the intrinsic muscles. Now, if you want to go on to point work, you need to have really good strength and control in these deep intrinsic muscles. And it's actually very common in modern day life to have a lot of weakness and even atrophy in those deep intrinsic muscles. So these are exercises designed to wake up those intrinsic muscles and get them stronger. So to start with, the level 1 exercise, foot flat on the floor, and you want to push your little toes into the ground and lift just your big toe. That's it. Once you've mastered that, you then reverse it. So you push your big toe into the ground and work on lifting just your little toes. Once you've mastered that level, then you do what we call toe swapping. So that's big toe, little toe, big toe, little toes. And you want to just keep going back and forth with those. Now, if you've been doing these already for a while, that's great. Hang on for a minute. I'm going to show you the more advanced versions. If you're really struggling with this, don't panic. Keep practicing. When you're sitting in front of the TV or you're sitting waiting for something, work on building up those movements there. They will come, even if it feels impossible right now. If you keep practicing, you will eventually get it. So once you've mastered the toe swapping, big toe, little toes, you want to do what we call piano toes. So that's working on lifting one toe at a time. And then you reverse it, so then you want to lower one toe at a time. Okay? So like I said, if you're struggling with these, don't panic, just keep practicing. So once you've mastered the basic versions of toe swapping, I'm going to show you the more advanced version of toe swapping. And this is a really useful exercise to get the strength in the muscles in your arch and your big toe. Now, these are the muscles that are ultimately going to hold you up in your point shoe. So stretching your legs long, and you want to point at your ankle as much as you can. So really stretch through your ankle, but of course make sure that you don't sickle your feet. Keep your ankles nice and straight. Then you're going to lift just your big toe in this position, but keeping your foot stretched. Once you can manage that, you're going to lift your little toes. And then of course, once you've mastered that, you can do the toe swapping in this position. So big toe, little toes, big toes, little toes. Now, done correctly, this exercise really gets into that muscle in your arch, and it should start to feel quite tired pretty quickly. If it starts to cramp up, just stretch it out. Keep working on this exercise, and like I said, you're going to get really, really good strength in those arch muscles, which are going to help hold you up in your point shoes. The second group of exercises I've got for you is to target a group of muscles that we call the peroneals. Now, these are the little muscles that sit on the outside of your ankle. They are super important for holding your ankle into a good alignment when you're on point. They're going to help stabilize your ankle so that you can balance on point. And very importantly, they're going to help prevent your ankle from rolling outwards and leading to a potentially very serious ankle sprain. So for this exercise, grab your band. Now, if you don't have a band, this will still be okay without, but really highly recommended that you grab a band. So you're going to wrap the band around the balls of your feet. Now to start with, what you're going to do is just turn the soles of your feet away from each other and then relax. Now, very importantly, your knees stay straight to the ceiling and your hips stay still. You're not moving from your hips and you're not moving by rolling your knees outward. It's only that winging action with your feet where you're turning the soles of your feet away from you. Done correctly, you should feel the muscles along the side of your ankles working. Now, once you can master the basic version of the exercise, I'm going to show you the more advanced version. So again, taking your band around the balls of your feet, then stretch out, push out against the band so that you can feel the workload in those little muscles on the outside again. So pushing out against the band, you're going to hold that outward pressure as you point your feet as much as you can and then flex. Keep pushing out against the band the whole time. So when you do this exercise, it's really important that you keep a very straight ankle. Done properly, if you're really pushing out against the band, you should feel the band wanting to pull you into a sickled position. And your goal is to fight against that. Keep pushing out against the band so that you've got that straight alignment in your ankle. And then working through your feet, stretching your toes as you push out against the band. Now, the other potential mistake that students make with this exercise is you need to make sure that you're lengthening your toes and stretching your toes away from you. Don't let your toes crunch under. The next exercise I've got for you is one to help you build the strength in your core muscles. Now, I've chosen this one because it also helps you build the strength in your hip flexors and your quad muscles, which are really important to help you protect your knee joints and also help you keep your knees straight when you're on point. So for this exercise, you're going to lie on your back. Now you want to straight away pull your tummy muscles in and flatten your back against the floor. Then you're going to lift your legs to a tabletop position. Now make sure when you do this, your legs are in parallel. Don't let your feet knock together. Keep your legs straight. Then level 1 version of this exercise, you lift your legs straight up, then rotating from deep in your deep turnout muscles, you turn out. Turn your legs back in and then bend your knees. So again, holding your tummy muscles in, straighten your knees, turn out, turn in, and bend. You want to do this probably 10 to 12 times until you really feel your tummy and your quad muscles burning. As you get stronger, you can play around with the angle that you stretch your legs. So the longer, the closer to the floor your legs go, the harder it is in your tummy muscles. So you can think about stretching your legs long towards the floor, turn out, turn in, and bring them in. Your other option for this exercise is actually to bring your legs a bit further this way. So straighten up and then think about pulling them in towards your chest as you turn out, turn in, and lower. So the basics of this exercise, the lower your legs are to the floor when you stretch them out, the harder it is on your tummy muscles, the more of a tummy and core exercise you get. The more you bring your legs in towards your chest, the harder the work is on your hip flexors and your quads. So it's actually really useful to vary how you do this exercise. So once you master the basic version with your legs going straight to the ceiling, one time you can do it with your legs longer towards the floor to really give your abs a good workout. And the next time you can do it with your legs pulled in towards your chest. So you're really targeting the strength in your hip flexors and your quads. Quite commonly, I'll get dancers to do one set with their legs going longer towards the floor, have a little break, and then do a second set, but bringing their legs closer to their chest. The next exercise is one to help you build the strength in your glutes and your deep turnout muscles as well as your back muscles. So again, these are super important for helping stabilize you on point and of course helping to protect your joints of your hips, your knees, and your ankles. So coming on to all fours for this one, you want to think about pulling your tummy muscle in and making a flat back. So you don't want to let your back arch and you don't want to arch this way either. So nice and flat. I like to get people to imagine you've got a tray of drinks sitting on your back and you don't want to spill the drinks. Then, holding your nice flat back, you're going to stretch one leg straight behind you so that you make a straight line from your heel right through your shoulders. Don't let your back sag and don't let it arch either. Keeping your nice flat back, rotate from your deep turnout muscles, really squeezing your turnout muscles. Holding your turnout, you're going to lift your leg and lower it down. So lifting and lower, lift and lower, and you should really feel your deep turnout muscles and your glute muscles working. As you get more tired, don't let your back sag, and don't lose the turnout. Now, once you've mastered that version, I've got a slightly more challenging version, which is going to bump up the workload in your core. So you're still going to be working your glute muscles, your turnout muscles, your back muscles, but we're also adding in a challenge for your core muscles. So again, coming onto your hands and knees, making your nice flat back, stretch one leg behind you. This time you're going to lift the opposite arm. Then rotating again from your deep turnout muscles, holding this position as you raise and lower the leg. By lifting your arm off the ground, you'll find that you're way less stable, and you also have to work on controlling your balance at the same time as working your turnout muscles, which of course is super important. When you're on point work, you've got to be working your balance at the same time. So when you're on point, it's really important that you have the strength and control to be able to go up onto demi-pointe and point with perfect alignment of your ankles, so that when you're on point, you're not dropping inwards or dropping outwards. Not only is that important to actually be successful and to be able to stay up on point, it's super important to have that perfect control of your ankles to prevent injuries. So for this exercise, we're going to be building that strength and control that you need. You need your band again, if you have it. Again, it's not absolutely essential, but really highly recommended. And also if you have it, a small ball. So you can use a tennis ball, something about that size. We're going to use both. If you don't have both, you can use one or the other. Still an effective exercise, even if you don't have either of them. So you've got a nice close-up of feet for this exercise, so you can really see what's going on. You want to put your band around the leg of a table or something heavy, and then step through the band so it's around the inside of your ankle. Then you're going to step sideways so that you can feel tension in the band, feel like the band is wanting to pull your leg inwards. Then you're going to put the ball between your ankles. Okay? Then in this position, you're going to rise up onto demi-pointe as high as you can on your demi-pointe. Again, keeping the absolute perfect alignment in your ankles, and back down. So rises up onto your demi-pointe and down, maintaining the control in your ankles throughout. What you'll find is that the band tends to pull your ankle outwards like this, and then of course the ball will drop. If this starts to feel a little bit easy, step a bit more sideways so that there's more tension on the band. Again, just like one of the other exercises we did, this works on the strength and the control in those outside muscles. It also helps you develop the awareness of your ankle joints and your feet joints so that you know that you're going right up through the middle and back down. You need to do this about 10 to 12 times on one side, then swap around so that your other foot is through the loop, and again do it another 10 to 12 times on the other side. Now the next exercise is one that we call the airplane. Now this works pretty much everything. It works your back, your core muscles, your hips, your glutes, your quads, your feet and ankles, and your balance all at the same time. So it's a really useful exercise. Now this exercise is actually one of the standardized tests that we use in a pre-pointe assessment. So this is something that we use to identify whether students have the strength and control to safely and effectively progress onto point work. So while this is one of the tests we use to identify point readiness, it's also very useful to practice it as an exercise, because as I explained, it strengthens pretty much everything you need to be safe and successful at point work. So this exercise starts in parallel position, and you stay in parallel the whole time. So hips straight forward the whole time. Now, pulling in your tummy muscles, making sure you've got a nice neutral pelvis here. One leg comes up to the front and your arms come into second position. Then you're going to hinge forward so that you're parallel to the ground. Bend your knees as your arms come to first. Stretch your knees as your arm come back to second, and then standing up. So again, you hinge forward, bend, stretch, and up. So with this exercise, we're looking for stability and control in your hips, your knees, your feet and ankle. So when you hinge forward, it's really important that your hips stay straight and square, that you're not doing this or you're not letting your hips drop like this. We're looking for stability in your pelvis. We're also looking for your knee tracking. So as you bend your knee, that knee goes straight over your toes and back, that you're not letting your knee collapse in or wobble around too much. Of course, we're also looking for strength and stability in your ankles. We're looking to see how much your ankle wobbles around and how well you can correct yourself, correct your balance if and when you start to fall over. Now, this exercise is very challenging, so don't panic if you feel like you're wobbling all over the place when you start. Don't worry if you feel like you have to stop between even almost every repetition. It is challenging and it will get better the more you practice it. The last exercise we've got today is single leg rises. Now this is the absolute number one most important thing you must be able to do before going on to point work. If I was forced to pick one exercise for all pre-point students to do, it would be this one. Now there are some experts that recommend you even be able to do up to about 30 single leg rises before you go on to point. I certainly in my clinic and with my dancers, I require a minimum of 20 single leg calf raises without a break before I agree to let them go on to point. There's a few reasons why this exercise is just so important for point work, but the absolute number one reason is safety. If you want to go on to point work, you've got to have a huge amount of strength in your ankles and your calf muscles. And if you don't have that strength, you're setting yourself up for injury. At the worst case scenario, best case scenario, you're just really going to struggle. So for this exercise, you can do it holding on to something. I've got the back of a chair here. You can use a home bar if you're lucky enough to have a ballet bar at home, or you can use the kitchen worktop, something like that. We're going to start by doing these in parallel position. So standing on one foot, pulling up your tummy muscles, and you're just rising all the way up onto your demi-point and slowly back down. Now, really important that you keep this exercise nice and slow and controlled. You really want to feel the work in your calf muscles. You also want to make sure you keep your knee straight and your pelvis level the whole time, so you're not dropping here, sinking into your hip, you're not lifting up through here, and you're really importantly, you're not letting your knee bend. Slowly rising up and down onto demi-point. You want to do as many as you can, building up to, like I said, a goal of even about 25 to 30 of these, both legs. So once you develop the strength to be able to manage doing about 25 to 30 at a time, each leg, then we'll get dancers to have a little break and do a second set, but with it in turnout. So start by finding your deep turnout muscles, pulling in your tummy muscles, nice level pelvis, holding your turnout as you transfer across to one leg. Now, of course, really importantly, don't sink into your hip. Keep your hips nice and level, and then you do your single leg calf raises here in turnout. Again, pelvis level, knee nice and straight, and keep the movement nice and slow and controlled. So there we go. There's your pre-point training program. Now, practice these exercises several times a week, and you'll find that your strength and control improves really quite quickly. So of course, it's very important with any exercise program that you understand the exercises and you're confident to do them correctly. So any questions, make sure you leave a comment below or send me a message and I'll do my best to answer any questions. Also, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel to stay up to date with my latest flexibility and dance training tips.